Welcome everyone. Today we have a special Zhu Yuan preparation and also build guide. Now if you're looking behind me, we have prepared a lot of notes and also a lot of discussion, a lot of theory crafting, and also ways to make your Zhu Yuan stronger, including how to get 100% critical rate and over 300% critical damage. And I go through everything with you guys, including the disk set, and also how to pick your disk drives, and also what are the main stats, sub stats you should be looking for, together with ways of getting additional critical rate coming from your team of characters with higher copies of them with the call, different supporting weapons, and also how Lucy can be very powerful. We'll look at everything that's related to Zhu Yuan, her team comps, and also different setups. There are new team counts I have added at the end of the video as well, so make sure you stay tuned for the second part with adjustment and also different team counts for Lucy and also Lucy with Ben. Now, as you guys can see, I have prepared a lot of previous notes for Zhu Yuan in terms of preparation for her, and also what items, how much of the Denny's, and also what materials do you need. Make sure you also check out those and also her comparison with Ellen and also with Qingyi. We have talked about the base stats for Zhu Yuan with only 5% critical rate, but much higher critical damage in that previous video as well, if you haven't had a look at this. And this preparation video is an over 11 page long video that I want to go through with you guys. So make sure you also use the timestamps just so you can go directly to the parts that you're interested. We'll also go through the factions and also builds of the characters. And yes, there's a lot I want to go through and I have prepared a lot. Now, if you haven't had a summary look at Zhu Yuan and also her best weapons, disk drives, main stats, and also sub stats, I have a link and also a guide for you guys to have a look to go through this, similar to all the other characters from the Mobilityx guide. So Zhu Yuan have multiple weapons for cost. You can go with her limited banner weapon, which provides a lot of critical damage and also critical rate, together with additional ways of more skill damage. There's also 2 S-rank weapons which are decent for her, and also there are 2 A-rank weapons that is not bad with the Battle Pass weapon and also the free-to-play Starlight engine. So over here, we'll go through Zhu Yuan stats and also how you can achieve a certain threshold of optimal high damage with Zhu Yuan. And after going through all this, we'll go through things step by step of picking the disk drives and also each of the main stats and also sub stats for Zhu Yuan on the later part. Now in this first part, I really want to focus on how do you build your Zhu Yuan. And in case you guys are not aware, her base talent, which gives her additional critical rate, at rank D, she will get 25% critical rate. At the highest rank, she will get 30% critical rate after casting her skills and also abilities for 10 seconds. So this actually compensates for her low base critical rate by 25 up to 30%. And this makes her very powerful to go from the get-go. And if we do get 2 sets from the Woodpecker set for the disk drives, you will gain another 8% critical rate. Together with picking a weapon of your choice, you have multiple ways of picking those weapons that will give her high critical damage and also high critical rate. And as a brief quick summary, using those numbers and also stats, I have added those up to 65%. And this seems to be a really good benchmark to aim for at least 65 or 66% critical rate. Then we'll be focusing on at least 100% critical damage. And in case you guys are wondering, yes, very soon we'll look at how to get those stats, coming in from the disk drives, the weapons, and everything that's related. Now there are several ways we can achieve 100% critical rate on Zhu Yuan, and this is before having the buffs from Hollow Zero or any particular buffs from outside of your build. So in order to achieve 100% critical rate, we can either pick critical rate stat on the disk drive 4, which is not ideal because you're actually sacrificing a lot of critical damage. Or we can focus on having the rest of the disk drives having at least +2 on the critical rate. So here's one of the example. On my particular Woodpecker set, you can see this disk drive is not a perfect one. It does have penetration, critical damage, and +2 with critical rate. So you want something similar to this on all of your disk drives, and this will enable you to achieve very close to 100% critical rate. And whatever critical rate you're missing, you can then find it with a team composition and also itemization with different characters. So here is a summary sheet that I have been discussing with some of my viewers and also theory crafting about Zhu Yuan. One of the ideal setup we believe is around 75% critical rate and around 225% critical damage with a balanced stat. Now this won't be too hard to achieve as long as you follow what I mentioned over here, but let's have a look how to achieve this directly. it is possible to get her to over 60 and also 70% critical rate even without one of those particular weapons, just by using the stats from the disk drives and also the character composition. The major focus is actually to get her to higher critical damage. So, I missed the damage over here. Zhu Yuan's higher critical damage is coming from multiple factors that can be from the disk drives. Having the main stats on the 4th disk drive and having multiple rolls on critical damage rolls. And very soon guys, we'll talk about how to roll for this and what you're looking for on those stats. So I just want to give you guys a summary, then we'll jump over to the disk drives and also particular stats. So this is where you get the most critical damage for Zhu Yuan. It's about 48% critical damage coming from her limited weapon, which will be a sizable factor. And this will definitely push you over 225% for the optimal balance of damage with critical rate and also critical damage. After this, we'll be going for additional attack percentage to ensure she deals the highest damage. Additionally, you'll gain 20% critical damage coming from the 4 set of the chaotic set. I actually have the small typo, I wrote 2 over instead of 4. So I made this small adjustment added into the video. So all the critical damage is having 4 set of the chaotic set. And this is why I actually prefer having this set to 4 sets with higher base critical damage and even higher stacking critical damage. And 5.5% critical damage coming from the 6 stacking critical damage for the 4th set, which add up to 33% more critical damage. So ideally, if you combine your combos correctly with Zhu Yuan and also Nicole, you can get over 275% critical damage. And in case you guys are not sure with the critical set, here are the stats. So with the 2 set, you'll have increased added damage. With 4 sets, not only you get the base critical damage by 20%, you also get 33% stacking critical damage as you deal corruption damage. And this is one of the reasons we have the added pet. This pet allows us to deal corruption and also trigger additional corruption as the pet also deals added damage. And we'll also talk about this on the second part with a team build together with ZZZ Guides, together with more characters and also different pet choices. Now finally, there is a big factor I want to share with you guys, and this is how we could get Zhu Yuan over 100% critical rate and over 350% critical damage. Now this is a theory crafted concept that I want to explain to you guys, and if you guys do have the luck and also the potential to have a 4 copy of Lucy, so this is the 4 constellation of Lucy, this is when this particular concept can be very powerful. So if we come over to the character sheet for Lucy, what I want to highlight is going to be the particular highlight and also the keyword with Cheer On. After using her special EX ability, Lucy can then trigger Cheer On ability to give allies additional attack percentage. But the bigger highlight of Cheer On is coming from the 2nd copy of Lucy and also the 4th copy of Lucy, which allows her to grant all members on the team, including the pets, her ability to give additional critical rate and also critical chance onto the boss she summoned. So basically she's giving the team additional critical chance and also critical damage. And on the 4th copy, she will give the team additional 10% critical damage. So whatever stats you have on your Lucy, which I do have a Lucy, but she's not at high copies. So this is only 1 copy of Lucy, right? And basically what you want is, you want the 2nd copy of Lucy, which will enable you to have the effect going. So ideally, you don't need 4 copy of Lucy. You just need her to 2nd copy, so the stats are transformed onto your team members. So they can share her attack, and also they can share her critical damage and also critical chance. At the 4 copy of her, the whole team will get an additional 10% critical damage. And finally, on the 6th copy of her, she will have multiple ways to reset and also trigger additional Cheer On, which allows your team to have more ways of getting the buff. And if you build her, I haven't really built her of course, if you build her to high critical rate and also higher critical damage, and share this with the whole team, this can potentially be one of the strongest ways to buff your Zhu Yuan. This, of course, is a theory crafted build that I want to discuss with you guys. And for those of you that have her and also is planning to play her, please let us know in the comments, how does this work? Will this be as we theory crafted? And can she be as powerful as giving Zhu Yuan tons of critical rate and also a lot more critical damage as a really powerful in-game support? So coming over to the part where we pick the disk drives and also the sets for Zhu Yuan. Now at the moment, there are two optimal sets. I wouldn't say which set is going to be ideal unless we have enough to do the testing. And right now it's very hard to get all the disk drives to the S rank and also perfect stats. So I would recommend two different combinations. If you can get the 4 chaotic and also 2 woodpecker, that is okay as well. If you get in 2 chaotic and also 4 woodpecker, that is fine as well, because we'll be stacking all 3 of those stats: added damage, critical rate, critical damage, and finally bonus attack damage. Now here I do have a really nice informative guide coming from this Reddit post. So this is actually coming from Lucid Rain, and this Reddit post basically is an image that shows you what main stats can be rolled on what part of your disk drives. This is a good reminder and also a good summary of how you can be looking for certain stats. So here is my summary list and also my cheat sheet of what stats I want to look for Zhu Yuan. On the first 3 disk drives, the main stats are fixed. So ideally, I want 3 of the best stats I can get for her, and this will always be critical rate, critical damage, and also attack percentage. This can also be penetration, or this can also be flat attack, but those are not really high scaling, at least from the moment from my perspective. But if penetration does turns out to be even stronger, I'll move this up in the rank. You can be getting critical damage or critical rate on this disk. And this is when we actually want to consider whether we want critical damage or critical rate. Once we have her base critical rate over 65%, it is usually much better to go with higher critical damage. And vice versa, if you don't have enough critical rate to 65%, and if you have seen the previous part, you know where all her critical rates are coming from, right? So here is the main factor for the critical rate. Once you get her to 65% critical rate, it's better to go with critical damage. And remember guys, if you have found the main stat as critical damage, the sub stats will not roll for critical damage. So you're left with critical rate, attack percentage, penetration, maybe flat attack, or HP percent as some of the optimal sub stats for her to go through this particular set. Now we'll definitely be looking for added damage on the 5th disk set. And this is the way to get the highest damage. It is okay if you have attack percentage or penetration ratio, but those won't be ideal. And of course, we go with those sub stats. Finally, on the 6th main stat, we'll go with attack percentage on the 6th disk, and with similar with the sub stats. So let me show you guys my current build for Zhu Yuan, and I have been giving her items onto Billy. And you can see my set is actually not perfect. So this is what I want to talk about. What if you don't have enough of the disk set? And what if you're looking for a certain stat that you can't find? How should you prioritize in building her with those disk drives? So going through my prioritization, the first thing I wanted is the added damage, together with some good substats with attack and also critical damage. So this is about a 2 out of 4 with the correct stats. After getting correct main stats, I'm looking for the main stats onto the 6th one with attack percentage. The substats are not perfect, and I'm still trying to see if I can get a better one. Finally, I'm looking for the main stats on the 4th set with critical damage. This is a pretty good roll on critical damage, but this is the wrong set. But in comparison, what I'm losing out is I'm losing out on the 8% critical rate. If I get lucky a few times on the critical rate, it is okay to have a broken set. So my bigger focus is to get the main stats correctly on those 3 sets, and then I will combine the rest of the sets to make at least a 4 set. And the missing 2 set, it is okay to sacrifice that for better sub stats and also for better main stats. And you can see those are my sets for Zhu Yuan, and I'm still farming for additional disk drives. So if I get better ones, I'll be replacing those. And I am planning to compare the Brimstone I have compared to the Battle Pass weapon with Cannon Rotor as 2 of the weapons to her to test which one will deal the highest damage. Now, I mentioned earlier, there are ways of gaining additional critical rate and also damage from supporting characters. So here are screenshots of ways to do this. So with Nicole, so let me come over to Nicole, probably easier to show you guys in game. So if I come over to Nicole, I have 3 copies of her. I need 3 more copies. So probably get this while summoning for Zhu Yuan, right? So on the 6th copy of Nicole, you'll be giving your team increased critical rate by 1.5%. This stack up to 10 times. So as long as you're hitting multiple enemies, you will stack up to 10 times and give your entire team 15% critical rate bonus. This is actually pretty powerful, right? So Nicole is definitely one of the best support for Zhu Yuan to trigger more anomaly damage and also to trigger additional critical rate. Now the second factor is actually coming from this battle pass weapon. And again, I'll try to show you guys this weapon in game. This is the weapon that allows the supporting character to trigger special effects and then give your entire party a 12% critical rate buff for 12 seconds. So if I were to use this weapon on Nicole with a 6 copy, all of a sudden she's giving the entire team 27% critical rate with a maximum stack. And finally, if you guys recall earlier, I have talked about Lucy with 2 copies of her, with 4 copies, and also with 6 copies of her. So those are the bigger factors with Lucy that I do not currently have. So I don't have those copies of Lucy, right? And she's not a limited banner character. But with those copies, this can potentially be the strongest factor to give additional critical rate and also critical damage for the entire party when Lucy triggers cheer on. And this can be a major factor if you plan to go with Lucy with higher copies compared to Nicole. Now it is not possible to run with those both characters because Lucy needs someone with the same element, and also Lucy needs someone with the same fraction to contribute and also give her critical stats and also critical damage to the entire team. And this also brings us to a variety of different team comps for Zhu Yuan. Now we have talked about those previously, so mostly we have Zhu Yuan with Nicole with 1 stunner, and this can be an A rank stunner like MB or a 4-star or 5-star stunner like Kalida. And I do believe Zhu Yuan, Lucy, and also Kalida can be a very powerful team comp as long as you have multiple copies of Lucy. I'll briefly scroll over to those particular team comps, and if you guys are interested, I'll have the notes and everything available. It is possible to run with a butler pet with the household of Victoria household with Reina and also Lycan. And this of course will reduce additional chance to trigger the resonance coming from the added damage. So this is why we always use resonable, but if you want more casting, the butler can also work over here. Now I wouldn't recommend going with Sokaku because she seems to be a weaker support compared to the rest. We also had a few of the build that only have 2 synergies just focused on Zhu Yuan. And of course I have mentioned about those briefly, but you guys can have a look at the combinations of those characters. And of course, if you're planning with Zhu Yuan with Ellen, Reina can be the best character for this particular case. So finally, at the end of the video, I have talked about getting a 2 copy Lucy and also a C2, C4 copy, multiple copies of Lucy. If you have Lucy to higher copies, you can run those 2 particular teams. One is with Lucy and also Piper to support Zhu Yuan with a double support plus an Emily team. One is coming from Lucy and also Ben with Zhu Yuan, and also reasonable for fire supporting team. Now hopefully this video is concise enough and also explain all the information you needed to build your Zhu Yuan. And if you guys are planning to build onto Lucy, please let us know in the comments below. Me and my viewers have been theory crafting a lot, and you can see we have over 11 pages of notes about Zhu Yuan and also her best team comps and also how to build her. And once she is released, I'll show you guys my summons of course, and then I have my plans to see what characters I get and also how to build her. And stay tuned for the next videos because I'm quite excited to summon on her banner. Now similar to all of the videos, if you want to follow the notes, those will be available in the links below. And if you find my videos helpful and you want to see more future videos for ZZZ and also other games to come, make sure you subscribe to the channel and keep the notification on for the latest content.